Alright, the first video for you on the real number system. So there are a lot of different kinds of numbers in the world, and you know about a lot of them. You may not have seen how they're classified before. So let me just start with some different kinds of numbers and try and tell a little story and see if you can follow along with this. A long time ago, and this story isn't entirely true, but it's a good analogy to how mathematicians and people discovered numbers and created this number set or number system. So a long time ago, there was cavemen, and they would see things around them like a saber-toothed tiger or food source, and they would count them. And so you got numbers like there's one or two or three of something, and you could continue these numbers infinitely, forever. And these kind of were the first numbers. They're called the natural numbers. They're also known as the counting numbers. And later, when mathematicians talk about these, mathematicians being very efficient people don't always like to talk about these by having to say natural numbers every time, and certainly not having to write all that out. So they came up with a symbol, which is the letter N with another little line in it. And some textbooks use a little bit of a stylized N, but most people will use a capital N with another little line in it to mean you're talking about the natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A while later, and actually quite a while later in real history, people started saying, well, I don't have any of something. And they invented the number zero. So now you've got a new number, zero, and you add in all those naturals, and you have a new set of numbers. These are known as the whole numbers. And they have a symbol, which is a capital W with a little line. I wonder if you can guess what comes next. Well, Roman times and finances, and I owe you some money. Yes, the negative numbers came next, and we actually took a look at these last year, and they had a special name. Let's take a look. And they were called the integers. And they have a special symbol. Generally, it's an I with another little line. Some people think that looks like a Roman numeral 2, and they use the letter Z. I don't know why, but they use the letter Z with an extra line in it sometimes to mean integers. Then people started getting some pretty interesting numbers, and one of those numbers, or number sets that they discovered next, were fractions and decimals, but only a certain kind of fraction or a decimal. It's called a rational number. But the fractions have a special thing. They have to be, well, they have to be a fraction, a over b, but this b value on the bottom can't be 0. It's not allowed to be 0. And both of these have to be integers. So there's that little I. That means that when they're written as a decimal, their decimals will end, i.e. if this is 1/2, then it ends. If this is 1/3, wait a sec, that doesn't end, it goes on forever. Oh yeah, so they either have to end or they have to repeat. Those are your choices. If that's true, then these are known as rational numbers, and they're given the symbol Q with a line in it. They're not given the symbol R because that's another set of numbers that we'll see in a second. They're given the letter Q. There are numbers that you know about that don't fit any of these. They can't be written as fractions and decimals. They're not integers, whole numbers, etc., etc. And there's one that has to do with circles, pi. Yeah, that can't be written as a fraction. The decimal goes on and on and on and on and on forever and never repeats. Those are other special kinds of numbers. Those are called irrational numbers. And we've already used up the letter I, so we can't use that one. And Q, well, it turns out mathematicians generally say, well, they're not rational. That's what irrational means. They're not rational. And this little line on the top, that little line means not in mathematics. So if you have a Q with a little bar or a little line on the top, that means it's irrational. And just so you know, a number like pi, which is got a bunch of decimal places to it, that would be an irrational number. All of these numbers together, every single kind of number that I've listed on this page, all of these are known as real numbers. And real numbers actually have their own symbol. This is where we needed that R, and it's an R with an extra line in it. So basically any kind of number that you can think of is going to be a real number. So the hierarchy kind of looks like this. We've got a big box, and inside that box is essentially every number you can think of. That would be real numbers. And that's divided into two parts. We've got the rationals on one side, and we've got the not rationals on the other side. So the pi is sitting over here, and decimals and stuff are sitting over here. In fact, inside the rationals, there's another area, and that area would be the next kind of set. So that's fractions out here, and decimals, they're out here, and then you got your integers. So they're here, and then inside the integers you've got the whole numbers, and then way down in here you've got those natural numbers. So there's kind of like a hierarchy. The natural numbers, yeah, there's an infinite number of them, but there's more whole numbers than natural numbers in some ways because you added 0 in. Then with the integers you get all the negatives, so you're getting more. And then with the fractions and decimals there's even more. There's a whole lot of these irrational numbers. Pi is just one of them, but there's another cool one called e. There's another one like √2. Try it on your calculator. See, it doesn't repeat and it doesn't end. Kind of cool. And all of these together are known as the real numbers. That's all you need to know for the first lesson, and we'll see you in class.